Welcome back, Wheel of Time fans, to Dan and the Red Hand. I'm Dan, and let's discuss very quickly The Dark Along the Ways, the most recent episode of the Wheel of Time series. All right, so this is just the quick reaction video. Nothing major, no book spoilers. Obviously, spoilers for the series itself on Amazon Prime, but I'm not going to go into book spoilers. Just kind of my reaction, what I thought of this particular episode. Breakdown, non-spoiler breakdown coming out tomorrow, and then the full spoiler breakdown the day after. But let's go ahead and get into this with that cold opening. That was a great cold opening. I loved it. Everything about that I liked. It had action. It had great just visuals. You know, seeing the Aiel warrior running through the snow and the garb, and then seeing the knights. Just the way that they fought and the brutality of it was beautiful. It was well choreographed. I may send this over to another YouTuber and get their opinion on how the choreography was for the fight scenes, but I thought it was really good. I love the way everything worked out, and I liked pretty the entire scene. Then after the title sequence, we get to see our main characters in the ways. They say it's the ways, so there's no spoilers there. And they had that discussion on, you need to reopen this so that we can get Matt, which is something a lot of fans have been saying, hey, if she can channel to get in, why does she channel to get out? Well, they explain that. They explain very quickly what Machin Shin is. They explain that they're in the ways, and you know, they get to a guiding stone. There's a lot of wonderful explanation here. And this is something I'm noticing with the series that I approve of, is they're taking things that may have taken, you know, a couple chapters in the book, and the travel may have lasted days or weeks, and they're condensing it to a couple minutes in the show and hitting all the major plot points without having to go through all the slog and dialogue, which I'm okay with. Yes, you're missing some character development detail, but overall it was a really effective scene. And honestly, the entire ways trip, from my aspect, I was like, yeah, that's pretty good. I don't mind this at all. So also in the ways, we get to see the return of Padan Fain. So, Padan Fain is still following them. You know, he's doing that whistle again. That's what wakes Egwene up. Again, getting woken up out of a dream by things that are going on. That has happened, I think, 3 or 4 times in this series already. There's something going on there with Egwene. She's able to have an awareness that other people aren't when she's sleeping. So we get to see Padan Fain. And we even get to see him leave. Like, he walks out of the Fall Dara, he walks into Fall Dara out of the gateway too. So it does make me wonder, if Moiraine has a channel, how's he getting there? Can he channel? Let me know in the comments what you think. Then you get to the fortress city of Fall Dara, and I think everything here is fine. I'm going to have to go back through and rewatch this and go frame by frame, but I think overall it was an effective look at. I actually really like the look of the city. I did see some content previous on how they filmed this. It was actually filmed somewhere very different. And they took the filming of that castle and did a couple things with it and then put it in this other setting. So really cool to see how they did that and how well it worked. You can see Tarwin's Gap in the background. For those book readers, you know what that is. And just the aesthetic of the city and everything was great. The costuming on the inside was wonderful. There's one character that I'll talk about in another episode that I was really happy to see. They kind of at least stuck something true to the books there. But overall, it was a really good introduction to this particular city. I like Lord Algamar and his sister and their interaction, his immediate, you know, hey, we can handle our own thing to the Aes Sedai, thinking he already knows why she's there. So I really like that interaction, and let's just go on to the next couple of scenes. So we get to meet a new character, Min, and she's a bartender who I guess is also a seer, a soothsayer, if you will. She can see things about people, and you get some additional things talking about these other people that we'll get into in more of the spoiler stuff, but just understand that that is foreshadowing. They are foreshadowing things for these particular characters later on along their journey. There's a wonderful discussion between our Two Rivers folks and the Aes Sedai, and you know, Nynaeve's like, hey, we're going to make our own decisions. You don't just tell us what the pattern has in store for us. We're still free-willed beings. We're going to make our own decisions. And it seems like they do, and they have a wonderful discussion, a lot of tension, and you start to get a lot more detail on how these characters interact. They've kind of alluded to, and some people have said, you know, hey, they think that Perrin likes Egwene. I wasn't sure of it, but hey, it seems like they're confirming that here, that maybe he has a thing for her, although he's denying it. But, you know, that might be a thing that adds some tension later on. Who knows? We'll have to wait and see. Then you get a wonderful scene where Nynaeve follows Lan, and he's going to meet this family, you know, and if you notice, they all have that same piece of leather on their heads. And, you know, you look in the x-ray, it's calling them Malkiri, and that's what Lan is. He's a Malkiri. So you eventually find out that, hey, yeah, you know, my kingdom was taken over by the Blight. I was supposed to be future king, basically saying he was a prince. but his whole family died, so he is next in line. And that's why they call him Dai Shan. But there were some good scenes there, good character development. You get to see Lan not just being hard. You know, when he's with, you know, children, he's interacting more like a human being and less like a stoic robot or like a screaming mourning person. So it was good to kind of see that. I don't think it's out of character. Some book readers might disagree with me, but for those who think that, go back and reread the books. He's not quite as stoic as you think he is if you go back and read the books. We'll get off of that. Then you get to the next scene where Nynaeve sneaks into Lan's room after he says goodnight, like, hey, I'm not going to invite you in. Good night. And she sneaks in. She takes the initiative. I thought she was about to do it when they were standing in front of the door, like she was just going to kiss him, but she didn't. She snuck in later, and then even she asked, do you want me to leave? You know, it was kind of a thing there, you know, a good consensual thing, but definitely a good thing to say, hey, I'm here because I'm showing my interest. Do you want me to leave? And that's all that scene was. And then it goes on from there. Yeah, there's this point where she's getting ready to leave, and they have a good discussion between the two of them. Why do they call you Dai Shan? You know, and all this other thing. He's like, well, you know, Moiraine doesn't own me any more than those kids own you. Wisdom's never marry. A lot of good interaction in that particular scene. So I thought it was very good to kind of push forward some of the character development for later on in the series. So after all that drama, you know, Rand's outside shooting his bow. He's not shooting great. He's hitting the target, but he's definitely not hitting on center. Egwene comes out. They have their little discussion. So good stuff there, character development wise. We'll go ahead and fast forward to when he comes back out and he's shooting the bow and he's hitting it right on target. He seems a lot more focused, and I think they'll explain that later in the series. But then you get some exposition with a flashback to when he was taking his father to see the wisdom after he got injured at Beltane. And he's saying, you know, sorry, Kari, I'm guessing that's Rand's mother. There was a baby, it was in the snow, it was cold, I couldn't just leave it there, he was burning up. You know, kind of alluding to, hey, maybe that's not his biological father and mother. And if you put two and two together, that's the same actor that you see taking that Aiel's baby. So the implication is that is Rand. And of course, after this, he goes and talks to Min again, and she basically confirms, yeah, you're the Dragon Reborn, which he thought he already was. And you get those scenes playing back through where, like I said, when he rams into that door, that's him channeling. And I even thought earlier in the ways that was him channeling and not Egwene. I was proven right. So you get that stuff of saying, okay, shoot, I guess he really is the Dragon Reborn. It's the one they didn't give any hints towards. Funny how they misdirected you everywhere else, isn't it? Then you kind of cut to the morning and you see, hey, you know, everyone's starting to get together. Egwene goes to Nynaeve's room, realizes she's not there. She's like, where have you been? Well, obviously she was off having sexy time with Lan. Then she's there, and then Perrin arrives, and they're all trying to discuss whether they're going to go with Moiraine and Lan and Rand and everybody out to the Eye of the World. And they have noticed that Rand isn't there, but they're talking amongst themselves. And if you notice, Perrin is still waiting for Egwene's answer. He's going to follow her, which does lead me to believe that maybe in this series they're saying, hey, maybe he does kind of have feelings for Egwene. And, you know, maybe even he doesn't realize it, but clearly he's always defaulting to her. So it's more than likely that there is something there on his end, if nothing else. Nonetheless, you know, you see Rand go up and knock on a door, and then it cuts, and nope, it's Lan knocking at the door when even on them are, and she's like, hey, Moraine's masked my bond. They've left. And then you see Moiraine opening the door and him saying, it's me, I'm the Dragon Reborn. And then you get one of my favorite shots of this episode when they're walking into the Blight. And I gotta say, the Blight doesn't look the way I thought it would, but I really like the way the Blight looks. It is very visually jarring. The aesthetic makes sense, and you can definitely see clear cut. This is normal. That is the Blight, and that I think was done extremely well. All right, so that's pretty much it, guys. Overall, I think it was a great episode. The pacing was actually really good, I thought. Acting and costumes, great as always. And I think the biggest thing is that you're getting more exposition, more storytelling, kind of explaining some other things. And it makes you want to see the next episode. That's the best thing about this one, you know, is it really makes you want to see the final episode, which comes out next Friday. Now, I really wish that I would have been able to do this video immediately after watching the show, but one of my best friends called and actually wanted to talk Wheel of Time stuff. We'll get to more on that probably right after the series comes up. I think we're going to do some deep dives in the Wheel of Time between me and him because we're both huge fans. Nonetheless, I had, you know, we talked for like an hour and 40 minutes before I got to record this episode. So if I'm off on a little details or the exact order things going, that's kind of why. But nonetheless, it was a really good episode. But now that I'm done with this video, I got to go rewatch it about 2 more times to do the next couple breakdowns. So until then, you all have a wonderful day, and don't forget to click that like, subscribe, and bell icon before you go. Have a good one.